Hi guys, it's me George from George Reads. Yesterday I posted an introduction video to my channel, and if you watched that and decided to join in for today's video, then thank you so much. And if you haven't watched the introduction video, don't worry, I'm going to explain to you now. So basically, every night I'll read a chapter a night of some of my favourite books from my bookshelf, and tonight we are starting off with Boom. If you watched the introduction video, then you know what this book is. You know how I got it for my 10th birthday a couple of months ago. I'm hoping you guys will enjoy it as much as I did when I first read it. And we're just going to go straight in now. Alright. Chapter 1. Helicopter Sandwich. I was on the balcony, eating a sandwich. Red Leicester and gooseberry jam. I took a mouthful and chewed. It was good, but not a patch on strawberry jam and cheddar. That was my best yet. I spent a lot of time on the balcony. The flat was tiny. Sometimes it felt like living in a submarine. But the balcony was amazing. The wind, the sky, the light. You could see 747s circling slowly in the stack, waiting for a space on the runway at Heathrow. You could watch police cars weaving their way through the tiny streets like toys, their sirens whooping. You could see the park too, and on this particular morning you could see, in the middle of a huge expanse of grass, a solitary man holding a metal box in his hands. Buzzing high above his head, he could just make out a model helicopter, banking and swerving like a dragonfly. Dad has always been crazy about models. Trains, planes, tanks, vintage cars. But after he lost his job at the car factory, it became the biggest thing in his life. To be fair, he was brilliant. Give him a brick and a rubber band and he'd have it looping the loop before you could say, "Trucks away!" But it didn't seem right somehow. It was a hobby for little boys and weird blokes who still live with their mums. A flock of pigeons clattered past and I heard the sound of a familiar motorbike engine. I looked down and saw Craterface's large black Moto Guzzi turn into the estate car park. My darling sister, Becky, was on the seat behind him, a grimy leather jacket over her school uniform. She was 16. I can remember the time, only a couple of years back, when she would tied her hair in bunches and had pony posters on her bedroom wall. Then something went badly wrong with her brain. She started listening to death metal and stopped washing her armpits. She met Craterface at a gig 6 months ago. He was 19. He had long, greasy hair and enormous sideburns with bits of breakfast stuck in them. When he was younger, he had spots. They had gone now, but they left these holes behind, hence a nickname. His face looked like the surface of a moon. He had the brain of a toilet brush. Mum, Dad and I were in complete agreement about this. Becky, however, thought he was God's gift to woman. Why she fancied him, I haven't a clue, but perhaps he was the only reason who could stand her armpits. The bike rumbled to a halt 10 stories below, and I experienced a moment of utter madness. Without thinking, I peeled off half of my sandwich, leaned out, and let go. I realized almost immediately that I had done a very, very stupid thing. If I hit him, I'd be murdered. The slice wobbled and flipped and veered left and right. Craterface turned off the engine, got off the bike, removed his helmet, and looked upwards towards the flat. I felt sick. The slice hit him in the face and stuck, jammy side down. For a couple of seconds, Craterface just stood there, absolutely motionless, a slice of bread sitting there like a face pack. Becky was standing beside him, looking up at me. She was not a happy bunny. Now, normally you can't hear much from the balcony on account of the traffic, but when Craterface tore the sandwich off and roared, I think they probably heard him in Japan. He stormed towards the doors, but Becky grabbed his wrist and dragged him to a halt. She wasn't worried about me. She'd have quite liked him to kill me, just not in the flat, because that would get her into trouble. Craterface finally saw sense. He waved his fists and shouted, "You're dead, scum!" Climbed onto the Moto Guzzi and thundered away in a gust of dirty grey fumes. Becky turned and strode towards the door. I looked down at the rest of my sandwich and realised that I no longer felt hungry. There was no one in the car park, so now I dropped this half too. I watched it wobble and flip and veer and land neatly beside the first slice. At which point the balcony door was kicked open, and I said it was an accident, but Becky screamed, "You little toad!" and hit me really hard on the side of the head, which hurt quite a lot. For a couple of seconds, everything went double. I could see 2 Beckys and 2 balconies and 2 rubber plants. I didn't cry because if I cried, Becky would call me a baby, which was worse than being hit. So I hung onto the rail until the pain died down and there was only 1 Becky again. "What did you do that for?" I asked. "It didn't land on you, it landed on Craterface." She narrowed her eyes. "You are so lucky he didn't come up here and hit you himself." She was right, really. Craterface had a black belt in Kung Fu. He could kill people with his ears. And another thing," she hissed. "His name is Terry." "Actually, I've heard his name is Florian. He just pretends to be called Terry." I stepped backwards to avoid another punch, but it never came. Instead, Becky went very quiet, leaned against the railing, and nodded slowly. "That reminds me," she said in a sinisterly pleasant way. "There's something I've been meaning to tell you." "What?" Amy and I were in the staff room the other day, talking to Mrs. Cottingham." Becky took a packet of cigarettes slowly, as if she were a black and white film. "Smoking's bad for you," I said. "Shut your ugly mouth and listen." She sucked in a lungful of smoke. "We overheard Mr. Kidd talking about you." "What was he saying?" "Bad things, Jimbo. Bad things." This had to be a wind-up. But she wasn't smiling, and it didn't sound like a wind-up. "What bad things?" I pulled nervously at the rubber plant and one of the leaves came off in my hand. "That you're lazy, that you're a nuisance." "You're lying." I slid the leaf of the rubber plant down the back of the deck chair. "According to Mr. Kidd, your work is rubbish. According to Mr. Kidd, and this is the really good bit, they're thinking of sending you to that school in Venom. You know, that special place for kids with problems." She blew a smoke ring. "That's not true." I felt giddy. "They can't do that." "Apparently they can," she said. "Jodie's brother got sent there." She stubbed out her cigarette in one of the plant pots and flicked it over the railing. "Jodie said it's like a zoo. You know, bars on the windows, kids howling all the time." The glass door slid open, and Mum stepped out onto the balcony, holding one of her shoes in her hand. "Hello, you two," she said, wiping the sole of the shoe with a wet cloth. "Honestly, the mess of this estate. I just trod on a half-eaten sandwich of all things." I turned around so Mum wouldn't see my face, and as I did so, I saw in the distance. Dad's helicopter clipped the top of a tree, burst into flames, spiraled downwards, and landed in the gravel of the dog toilet, scaring the living daylights out of a large Dalmatian. Dad threw the control box to the ground and lay face down on the grass, hammering it with his fists. And that's the end of chapter 1. I told you it was going to be a great book. Thank you guys for watching, and so don't forget to tune in tomorrow night for chapter 2. But before you go, I want to give a special mention. My little brother Freddie, who really wanted to be included in the show. Say hi, Freddie. Hi. See. Okay, thank you guys for watching from both me and Freddie. And I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.